Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Padjana Randana. Yashodanandana Padjana Randana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Purujagacharya Ashtottara Shri Srimad, His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Purujagacharya Ashtottara Shri Srimad, His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 5th day of April, 2023 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is. I'm sorry. Let me start over again. On this 5th day of April, 2023 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace HG Dravida Dasa Swami Prabhupada. Now just to note, this is also, let's see, the day that Balaram had his Rasa Yatra, his Rasa dance. He has his own Rasa dance. He visited Vrindavan. Krishna asked him to go and console the gopis. And he had a Rasa dance, I think, every night for a month. But this is the first night. And this is also Krishna's Vasanta Ras. So this is also a day when Krishna had another Rasa dance. And it's the appearance day of Vamsivadana Thakur, associate of Lord Chaitanya, and Shyamananda Prabhu, one of the main disciples of Jiva Goswami, who carried on the preaching after the original Goswamis had departed, most of them. So it's a very auspicious day, and we are reading from Bhagavad Gita. Okay. So we are studying. Let me just get this right. Is it text 17? Yeah, somehow this is in the wrong. Yes, I would have noticed this one. Okay. So we're on page 580, studying text 17 of chapter 14, the three modes of material nature. Sattvat sanjayate jnanam rajaso lobha evacha pramada moha tamaso bhavato ajnanam evacha. Mother Antonella, can you move over on that side? We like to leave a little room for the men if they come. No, that's all right. She's just got to get her bag. She's got all this paraphernalia. Here we got your seat and everything. Okay. All right. Gotta get settled here so she can chant with us. Thank you. Okay, text 17. Sattvat sanjayate jnanam rajaso lobha evacha pramada moha tamaso bhavato jnanam evacha. Sattvat sanjayate jnanam rajaso lobha evacha pramada moha tamaso bhavato jnanam evacha. Sattvat sanjayate jnanam rajaso lobha evacha pramada moha tamaso bhavato jnanam evacha. Madhava. Sattvat sanjayate jnanam rajaso lobha evacha pramada moha tamaso bhavato jnanam evacha. Oh, I'm sorry, wait. Vajamanala. Sattvat sanjayate jnanam rajaso lobha evacha pramada moha tamaso bhavato jnanam evacha. Sattvat sanjayate jnanam rajaso lobha evacha pramada moha tamaso From Ramevacha. Sattvat sanjayate jnanam. Vajaso lobha evacha. Pamadamoha tamaso. Bhavato jnanam evacha. Sattvat sanjayate jnanam. Vajaso lobha evacha. Pamadamoha tamaso. Bhavato jnanam evacha. Word by words. Sattvat, from the mode of goodness, sanjayate, develops jnanam, knowledge. Rajasaha, from the mode of passion, lobha, greed, eva, certainly cha, also. Pramada, madness, moha, and illusion, tamasaha, from the mode of ignorance, bhavataha, develop. Ajnanam, nonsense, eva, certainly cha, also. Translation. From the mode of goodness, real knowledge develops. From the mode of passion, greed develops. And from the mode of ignorance develop foolishness, madness, and illusion. Purport. Since the present civilization is not very congenial to the living entities, Krishna consciousness is recommended. Through Krishna consciousness, society will develop the mode of goodness. When the mode of goodness is developed, people will see things as they are. In the mode of ignorance, people are just like animals and cannot see things clearly. In the mode of ignorance, for example, they do not see that by killing one animal, they are taking the chance of being killed by the same animal in the next life. Because people have no education in actual knowledge, they become irresponsible. To stop this irresponsibility, education for developing the mode of goodness of the people in general must be there. When they are actually educated in the mode of goodness, they will become sober, in full knowledge of things as they are. Then people will be happy and prosperous. Even if the majority of the people aren't happy and prosperous, if a certain percentage of the population develops Krishna consciousness and becomes situated in the mode of goodness, then there is the possibility for peace and prosperity all over the world. Otherwise, if the world is devoted to the modes of passion and ignorance, there can be no peace or prosperity. In the mode of passion, people become greedy, and their hankering for sense enjoyment has no limit. One can see that even if one has enough money and adequate arrangements for sense gratification, there is neither happiness nor peace of mind. That is not possible, because one is situated in the mode of passion. If one wants happiness at all, his money will not help him. He has to elevate himself to the mode of goodness by practicing Krishna consciousness. When one is engaged in the mode of passion, not only is he mentally unhappy, but his profession and occupation are also very troublesome. He has to devise so many plans and schemes to acquire enough money to maintain his status quo. This is all miserable. In the mode of ignorance, people become mad. Being distressed by their circumstances, they take shelter of intoxication, and thus they sink further into ignorance. Their future in life is very dark. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Shri Parampara. So, in the last couple of years, we've been very conscious of this pandemic. And it was a big impact on the world's consciousness, I think, because no matter where you were in the world, you felt that there was this danger. Usually you feel that, okay, it's happening over there. I read an article about this plane crash or this war is going on, but it's not directly impinging on me and I can leave my life. But that virus is everywhere, threatening and spreading. So I was reminded of that because of this whole chapter of the modes of nature, because we can say it's catching. If you associate with people in the mode of passion, and you are exposed to as we'll learn in the 17th chapter, food's in the mode of passion, music in the mode of passion, all these influences. You don't know. This is just life. Hare Krishna. Welcome. Then you'll become in that mode. That's the sangat. What is it? Sangat sanjayate kama. This is a line from a verse in the 2nd chapter, which is, it's interesting because in the verse itself it means something a little different. The verse begins, Dhyayato vishyan pungsa sangasteshu bhajayate sangat sanjayate kama kama krodo bhajayate, and it goes on like that. What you meditate on, we're on page 580. What you meditate on, or what you absorb your mind in, or the predominant exposure that your mind has, will color and determine what you become attached to. It's like if you grow up in Canada or you grow up in France, say, and so there's media everywhere. There's the TV and there's this, and then everything is in French. So naturally, you're going to start speaking French and thinking about French. You become attracted to French movies and everything like that, because your mind is exposed to it. This is what the nature of the living entity. And so, Sangat Sanjayati Kama. So these modes, we see, and we're going to learn more about them in the 17th chapter. We'll learn that there's foods in the mode of goodness, passion, ignorance, and described. Remember, austerity, all different kinds of things, different modes of nature. But here we're getting a general overview. And Krishna is describing in this particular verse that the most predominant product or result of being in the mode, each different mode. So for mode of goodness, it's knowledge. Now it doesn't say what kind of knowledge that is, but one is inquisitive about one's environment and learning, and ideally inquisitive about the ultimate knowledge of how to solve all the problems of life. But for that, one has to be exposed, to have sangha, have association with someone who is in that knowledge, knows it, and is living it. And that's the advantage of what is called the sadhu sangha. Who is the sadhu? This is described very nicely in the 3rd canto of the Bhagavatam. Many of you have heard me discuss this. There's a great incarnation of the Lord named Kapila Dev. Now, Prabhupada, and there's also an imposter Kapila Dev, more modern, who didn't teach bhakti, and it certainly wasn't an incarnation. And he taught the Sankhya. Sankhya yoga is kind of this analytical yoga where you look, there's these 24 elements, these 5 knowledge-acquiring senses and 5 active senses, and then there's the 8 material objects, earth, water, fire, ether, and you kind of analyze everything like that, and you try to separate the spirit from all of this matter. But it's not really bhakti. But Kapila Dev, being an incarnation of God, his message is ultimately bhakti. But he begins his teachings to his mother. His mother is his prime disciple, Devahuti, with this 8 verses about the importance of associating with sadhus. And he starts out with this verse about sangha, but he calls it prasanga. Prasanga means intense association, intense attachment. Pasangam madadam pasham atmana kavayo vidusa hesha sadhushrukato moksha dvaram apavatam. So I put that one into a little poem. Mundane attraction keeps us bound, or mundane affection keeps us bound to birth and death infernal. But love for sadhus opens wide the doors to life eternal. So then the next question is, who is the sadhu? Where can I find the sadhus? I want to get eternal life, bliss. So then the next few verses he describes the qualities of a sadhu. And he begins with this famous verse, Tatakshava karunika suridak sarvadehinam ajata shatvarak shanta sadhavak sadhabhushana. So these are like, bhushana means ornaments. These are ornaments of the character of a sadhu. The first is tolerance. And the next is great compassion for the suffering souls. Now you can see how they're kind of dependent on one another. You can't be compassionate. And the example, Prabhupada would give the example of someone who is sacrificing so much and unwilling to undergo suffering for the benefit of people in general. Not material benefit, but the ultimate benefit, spiritual benefit. Liberation from birth, old age, disease, and death, and return back to the land, the paradise the kingdom of God, eternal life of bliss and knowledge. It's reality. So, but when you preach, just like Jesus, right? There were a whole bunch of people who didn't tolerate him. But he was tolerant. He's sitting on the cross, please forgive them, Father, they don't know what they're doing. I mean, could we imagine? You know, someone's tormenting you, torturing you, and you're saying, please forgive them, rather than, please kill them, destroy them, burn them up, you know. So, particularly the friend of every living entity. This is important because it means you see within every organism, every living being, that spirit soul. And that's called the dehina, that which dwells within the body. Dehinosmin yata dehi, Krishna describes at the beginning. So in other words, you don't discriminate. Those of those who are born where I am, who speak my language, who are my race, I really have great friendship with them. But others, any other human beings, what to speak of animals? No, we just exploit them, or you know. No, every living being, the cows, even probably said a sadhu, which is a devotee, would be hesitant to kill even a mosquito. He pronounced that way, very charmingly. So a jata shatrava has no enmity toward anyone, and very peaceful. Without material desires and without enmity, you can see how peaceful you can be. Sadhavak sadhabhushan. So he goes on with those qualities. Now, how do you acquire these qualities? I'm born with them by devotional service. That's the next verse. Maya nannena bhavina bhaktim kovanti yedvidham matkote chakta karmanas chakta swajana bandhava. That the real sadhu is unflinching and uninterrupted, unmotivated devotee to me, Kapila Deva's being, because he's an incarnation of Krishna. And for my sake, such a devotee will give up activities which are impediments to devotional service. And even if it's an impediment, relations with dear friends and relatives, because that can be a big impediment. So what do? What's the main activity? Manashaya kata mrishta shrinbanti katayanticha. Always hearing and chanting the most delightful vibrations about me, beginning with the holy name. And because of that, the material miseries don't bother them so much. They reach a transcendental state where they can tolerate and transcend because they're so absorbed in thinking of me. So you should associate with such souls, O Mother, and they will help you to get rid of bad reactions to previous bad associations. So then comes like the crowning jewel of verses of this 8 verses. And this is a very often quoted verse. Satam prasangan. There's that word sangha again. In fact, the word prasanga. So he's saying very intense, meaningful association with the satams, the devotees. These devotees he just described. Mama virya samvido bhavanti udikkhana rasayanakata. Within that association, you will hear accounts of my powerful activities. In other words, descriptions of the name, form, qualities, and pastimes of God. Bhavanti, and this enters the ear just like a nectarian ambrosia. It's called rasayana, a life-giving elixir. That is very pleasing to the heart and the mind, very tasty. And this is a very easy process of devotion, process of yoga, and very quickly on this path of abhavarga. Now this word is worth meditating on for a minute, because it's interesting. This is the describing path of liberation. Liberation from what? So the scholars, the sages have analyzed this verse. In Sanskrit, there are different categories of letters, just like we have vowels and consonants. So they have a little more elaborate, different categories of consonants. And these are called vargas. So the pa vargas are the vargas that begin with the word letter P. So you get P, pa and pa, ba and ma. So each one of those stands for another the variety of suffering in this material world that you're getting rid of, because this is the path of apavarga, counter pavarga. So what's the pa? Pa is parishrama, working very hard just to maintain oneself in this world. The hard struggle for existence, Bhagavad would say. So by working so hard, you may work so hard that you get foam at the mouth. Painila. That's the next thing. B stands for two things: bandha or bondage, same word in Sanskrit and English. Or bhyartata, which means frustration. You work very hard, and you get laid off. Or you get the same salary, but it's worth half as much as it was 2 weeks ago because of inflation. So many different things can happen. So that's bhyartata. And then the final thing, after working very hard, foaming at the mouth, being bound up, and futility, comes the final strike is M for mrityu, death. This is the material life. So this association, huh? Oh, you're right. Thank you. The BH is Bha, stands for Bhaya. Thank you. Fearfulness, especially as you get older, it's happening. And then finally is Mrityu, death. So this is Abhavarga. This is the path of liberation, associating with sadhus. And what's the main hearing and chanting? Hare Krishna. It's Sankirtan. That's the essence of hearing and chanting. You chant, I hear. I chant, you hear. And so So he's describing that if you seek out the sadhus, their association, and you hear from them and you chant with them, then what happens is bhakti apaman jata paraga ayudat. From this bhakti, this developing devotional service or love for God, you develop vairagya, detachment from these material things and all these modes of nature, because you're becoming attached to Krishna. Bhakti apaman jata paraga ayudat. What you can see or see right now, you become detached from that, and what you've heard about, namely the heavenly planets. See, there's a whole branch of the Vedas that show you how to become detached from this, because you're attached. You want to go to the heavenly planets, so you perform sacrifice, austerity, so that I'll graduate and I'll go to the heavenly planets and enjoy like anything. But that's also illusion. You become detached from that. You want to go to the highest planet, where there's no coming down. But by thinking of my activities all the time, by thinking of Krishna's form, qualities, name, pastimes. And then he says, I forget this line, but this is the easiest way to control the mind. And Rijubir Yogamag. Rijubir means the easiest process of yoga. You don't have to go up to the Himalayas. You don't have to practice, get into all kinds of postures. And come to, associate with devotees, chant Hare Krishna, and learn and just immerse yourself in the transcendental sound. So that's the alternative. Otherwise, you stay, in these modes of nature, which guarantee another birth in this material world, and you don't know what your destination is going to be. So here he's giving some of the, I'm sorry, I'm just compelled to share with you one little editing pastime having to do with this verse, because I've been an editor for so long. This was before I wasn't even an editor or a proofreader. I know this. What you're reading here, what we read is the 1983 revised edition of the Bhagavad Gita, in which it was gone over by Jayaveda Swami and Gopi Puranadhana Prabhu. And one of the things they found was what I noticed when I was a Bhakta, I think it was, back in 1973. And we had a Bhagavad Gita class religiously in the evening. Everyone was there. And I pointed out to Jayaveda Das Brahmachari at the time, because he was still an editor even at that time, that this word lobha, which is given as greed there, obviously, it's a common word in the word by words, but in the translation it came out like this. Welcome. Would you like to be part of the class? And we're going to have a darshan at 8:15. Until then you can sit and, if you like. And so you come over on the men's side, just grab a cushion, or you can sit on the bench back there. And we have books. We have two more books, and we can also get another one from the closet. And we're on page 580. So instead of greed, it said grief. Notice in the translation, from the mode of passion, greed develops. You see that? From the mode of passion, greed develops. But it said, from the mode of passion, grief develops. So I pointed out to Mara, I said, this doesn't look right. I said, yeah, that's a mistake. But it wasn't fixed for another 10 years, because it wasn't our book. Prabhupada didn't have a whole book trust, that he could print his books. So he was able to print, but miraculously, this international company called Macmillan, they printed our unabridged Gita. So anyway, there's that. Any questions on this? The effects of the different modes of nature. And then in the 18, we'll see the destinations of those who pass away in the different modes. Yes, Prabhu?
Why is it that
Oh, can you please use the mic? It's right behind you. Because we have an audience out there.
Hare Krishna.
I will.
Why does the object of knowledge change? For example, the color yellow might change into different hues and it might fade, but the knowledge of the object remains unchanged.
Now, why do you think the knowledge of the object remains unchanged? I mean, you're explaining that it changes, so isn't that knowledge of the object?
Yeah, I mean, I can have a conception, or I can have an understanding. Perhaps you can enlighten me. Maybe it does change.
Well, the material energy is endlessly mutable. Isn't that there in the Gita? The word for one of the words, or one of the metaphors for this material world is Bhava Sagara, the ocean of Bhava. Now, Bhava is commonly thought, okay, that's birth, death, old age, and disease. But the actual word in Sanskrit, Bhava means change. So our environment is changing, and with it, and our perceptive ability is also changing. So naturally, the conception that is registered in the mind can also change. But that's just to show how, what doesn't change in this ever-changing world. The soul, the spirit. That's also there in the description in the 20-verse lesson of the soul from text 11 through 20, or through 30, excuse me, of the second chapter. There's a 20-verse lesson of the soul and describes different qualities. And one of them is it doesn't change. The soul is the same. So why does our consciousness constantly changing? I mean, we all experience, you grow up, and you have a very rudimentary childlike awareness of the world. Right? And that's just the way but then gradually, not only does your physical body change, but your subtle body changes, your mind changes, your conceptions change. Because the material world is endlessly changing, and the soul has kind of given over its perceptive agency to the mind and the intelligence. So those are also material, and they're always changing. So the whole mission of human life is encapsulated in this first sutra of the Vedanta Sutta. Tato Brahma Jigyasa. Now, therefore, having come to the human form in life, you should inquire into the ultimate, absolute, supreme, unchangeless, supreme, Brahman, the source of everything. And that's, how to do that, not so easy. But that's the tradition we're in. That Krishna is giving enlightenment here, Prabhupada is explaining it. So, and Krishna, also seems to be changing. He reciprocates with the different personalities in the spiritual world in all varieties of different ways. He doesn't change. He has that unlimited variety within him, and the spiritual world is like that. But there's varieties of just like ragas. For different seasons, for different moods, there's an unlimited variety. But the basic principle there is that this music is going on in glorification of all the different relationships Krishna is having, and it's just a variety is the spice of is the source of enjoyment. What does it say? Spice, yeah. But that variety is always there. But there's a certain unchanging quality to the whole thing. It's certainly never destroyed, as everything here. That's the ultimate change of the body. So that's the way I would answer that. In the material world, everything is always changing. You may work so hard to get a situation of happiness and peace, but it's very tenuous. The source of time will eventually destroy it. So we want to get to that place beyond time, just like it says in the Brahma Samhita near the end. It's 2 verses describing Goloka Vrindavan. It's good to read that, to get attracted. So it says, The first verse says, Shriya Kanta Kanta Padama Padusha Kalpatadavo Dhuma Bhumish Chinda Managana Mahitoi Himamatam Kata Ganam Nachim Gamanam Bivangshi Priyasaki Chadanandam Joti Padamabitadas Vajamabija. So in that beautiful land of Goloka Vrindavan, all of the consorts of Krishna, goddesses of fortune, and he's the supreme enjoyer of them all. And Padamabuddha Kalpadadavadhuma, all the trees are desire trees. Wouldn't that be far out? You can go out to this tree. I mean, we have a tree back here, just to let you know. When it comes into fruition, like later in the spring, it's a fig tree. And, you know, tree-ripened figs, I mean, we pick them and we offer them to the deities. And it's just like manna from heaven. It's like, you know, you get a little hint. But there, in all seasons, all the trees can give you whatever fruit you want to offer to Krishna. Isn't that amazing? You can get fresh mangoes, you know, apples, whatever. So that's what Kalpadadava Dhruma Bhumi. All the land, it's not just land, it's Chintamani gems. All walking is dancing, all talking is singing, and one can always hear in the distance the beautiful sound of Krishna's flute. And at every moment, Chidanandam Jyoti, everything is glowing with this spiritual, blissful effulgence, which you can directly taste, as opposed to this world. You know, it's not like that. So then it goes on. Sayatra Chiradi, there are all these Surabhi cows. They're so blissful that the milk is oozing out of their udders, and their milk, you know, they're moistening the ground. And then, not a second passes away there. It's only the eternal present. There's no past, no future. No one gets old. No one dies. You know. But there's ultimate wonderful varieties of tastes and relationships with Krishna, enjoying them. So that's the spiritual world, and we should aspire that. We should hear about it. It sounds like a Pollyanna, you know. Oh yeah, right, you know. But this knowledge is being passed on by the greatest of realized souls. I mean, are we going to say that? Yeah, you know, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Ramanujacharya, Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta, they really got, you know, bewildered and we're in this. You know. No, we're in the bewildered state. They're giving us the reality, and they're living it. And his next verse describes our destination in whatever modes we're in. Urdhvam gachanti sattvasta madhye tishtanti rajasaha jaganya gunavrittista adho gachanti tamasaha. Those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upward to the higher planets. Those in the mode of passion live on the earthly planets, and those in the abominable mode of ignorance go down to the hellish worlds. Purport: in this verse, the results of actions in the three modes of nature are more explicitly set forth. There is an upper planetary system consisting of the heavenly planets, where everyone is highly elevated. According to the degree of development of the mode of goodness, the living entity can be transferred to the various planets in this system. The highest planet is Satyaloka, or Brahmaloka, where the prime person of this universe, Lord Brahma, resides. We have seen already that we can hardly calculate the wondrous condition of life in Brahmaloka, but the highest condition of life, the mode of goodness, can bring us to this. The mode of passion is mixed. It is in the middle between the modes of goodness and ignorance. A person is not always pure, but even if he should be purely in the mode of passion, he will simply remain on this earth as a king or a rich man. But because there are mixtures, one can also go down. People on this earth, in the mode of passion or ignorance, cannot forcibly approach the higher planets by machine. In the mode of passion, there is also the chance of becoming mad in the next life. The lower quality, the mode of ignorance, is described here as abominable. The result of developing ignorance is very, very risky. It is the lowest quality in material nature. Beneath the human level, there are 8 million species of life: birds, beasts, reptiles, trees, etc. And according to the development of the mode of ignorance, people are brought down to these abominable conditions. The word tamasaha is very significant here. Tamasaha indicates those who stay continuously in the mode of ignorance without rising to a higher mode. Their future is very dark. There is an opportunity for men in the modes of ignorance and passion to be elevated to the mode of goodness, and that system is called Krishna consciousness. But one who does not take advantage of this opportunity will certainly continue in the lower modes. So this is very sobering. I mean, it's like, we can recognize by reading this chapter and the chapter 17, you can recognize how those modes exist in your own life. If sometimes, I mean, I remember when I was in high school, maybe even grade school, 8th grade or 9th grade, that, come Sunday, it was just like, oh, so great. I can just sleep in and I can get up at 12 o'clock, noon. And that was like, I'm really enjoying now, But that's the mode of ignorance. Really, spiritual life really begins when you're really, really determined to get up early, because it's those early hours, 4:30, 5, 6, 7, before the whole world starts going, when you have a good chance to practice spiritual life, chanting and reading and studying and worshiping. And if it becomes a habit, then it really forms your whole consciousness. It forms a great foundation. And so Prabhupada set his temples up like that. Mangalartik, 4:30. Now in some temples it's been pushed to 5, but it's still very early. And there's that morning program, the Tulsi Puja, the Japa. I made a little word out of it. Let's see if I can remember. Mantu Gwigukla. Mangalarti, Tulsi Puja, Mantu Jangwigukla, Japa, greeting the deities, Guru Puja, and class. Mantu Jangwigukla. Breakfast, maybe, maybe a half-day fast. Breakfast is going to be there whether you're in the temple or outside the temple. But that's, it's difficult to get into that. I mean, that's a surrender, but it's very valuable to get into that routine. And it's a whole formulation of a different consciousness. Just like going to school. The whole thing, they're working on your mind, you're getting knowledge, trying to improve your life. But if the knowledge is also in the mode of ignorance, in other words, it's not teaching you how to transcend the modes of nature, how to develop your knowledge of God, but rather how to develop some technique for living in the material world, then it's ultimately self-defeating. They have this phrase in a verse, a well-known verse, Shrama eva hi kevalam. Shrama eva hi kevalam means a lot of work for nothing. A lot of work that ultimately is self-defeating. Now what's Shrama eva hi kevalam? In terms of religion or dharma, it is said, Dharma su anushtitak pungsam vishrakshen katasayak not pariyet yadidatim shama evi kevalam. If you have a dharma, a religion or a practice, whatever it may be, and that practice does not increase your desire to hear about God, then it's all simply a lot of labor for nothing. Because you go through a whole life and your mind is completely devoid of any thought of any transcendence, can be completely mundane or just superficially. And then you die, you leave this body, whatever you've achieved, it's prestige, money, beauty, it's all gone. And you go to, your destiny is not in your control. It's according to higher powers. What qualities of nature did we cultivate? What attraction did we have? What karma we engaged in? There's this famous picture here. I think many books have been distributed on it. This wasn't painted when Prabhupada was on. There's the cow man. The cow has the face of a man, and the man has the face of a cow, and the man is slaughtering the cow. What goes around comes around. So that all comes due afterward. So the previous life is just like a dream. You forgot it. It's gone. And you're not going up. You have to get all the results of the karma. But one who is in knowledge and cultivates a higher consciousness relation with Krishna, even just a little bit, even just a su-opam, solpam-apya siddharmasya, trayate, that will protect you from the most fearful type of danger, which is losing the human form of life and going down. So what to speak of making good progress on your path back to Godhead? That is highly to be coveted and strive for. What should we strive for in this world? That's what he's talking about. So, should we do one more? Yeah, that's text 19. Nanyam gunebhya kartaram yada drishtana pashyati gunebhyascha padam veti madbhavang sodigacchati. When one properly sees that in all activities no other performer is at work than these modes of nature, and he knows the Supreme Lord, who is transcendental to all these modes, he attains my spiritual nature. Purport: one can transcend all the activities of the modes of material nature simply by understanding them properly, by learning from the proper souls. The real spiritual master is Krishna, and he is imparting this spiritual knowledge to Arjuna. Similarly, it is from those who are fully in Krishna consciousness that one has to learn this science of activities in terms of the modes of nature. Otherwise, one's life will be misdirected. By the instructions of a bona fide spiritual master, a living entity can know of his spiritual position, his material body, his senses, how he's entrapped, and how he is under the spell of the material modes of nature. He is helpless, being in the grip of these modes, but when he can see his real position, then he can attain to the transcendental platform, having the scope for spiritual life. Actually, the living entity is not the performer of different activities. He's forced to act because he is situated in a particular type of body, conducted by some particular mode of material nature. Unless one has the help of spiritual authority, he cannot understand in what position he is actually situated. With the association of a bona fide spiritual master, he can see his real position, and by such an understanding, he can become fixed in full Krishna consciousness. A man in Krishna consciousness is not controlled by the spell of the material modes of nature. It has already been stated that in the 7th chapter, that one who has surrendered to Krishna is relieved from the activities of material nature. For one who is able to see things as they are, the influence of material nature gradually ceases. So this brings up one of my other favorite verses you've heard many times, and that is, first of all, understanding the constitutional position of the soul in the body is essential. This is called sambandha gyan. Like he said, what does it mean that you're not doing anything? Well, here's what it means. Okay, just visual. I'm sitting here in the body. I'm this minute little spirit soul. Where all the consciousness is coming, right? So my relation with the body is very complicated. It's a big machine created by the material energy under the instruction of Krishna, by which the soul can have this body that's doing his will. I want to get this water, so I'm thirsty, so I just reach my hand. I'm not thinking, okay, now let me see, brain, send this impulse down here and contract this muscle. I'm not thinking of that, but that's what's going on, right? So what am I doing? I'm desiring. That's my role. I desire water. I've gotten that desire because my body is thirsty and is impinging on my consciousness. And I say, okay, well, there's some water here, so this will relieve it. I know by experience. So this whole machine, this whole complicated contraption is working by the forces of material nature, the modes of nature, to fulfill my desire. And I'm eligible to have that desire fulfilled. A lot of people aren't. They're in desert somewhere. They can't easily get water. But this is part of my karma. I can have water. So this is all going very, very complicated. Every breath we take, we're desiring the whole thing is arranged so we can have the air, and we don't think about it twice until we have to think about it twice. That was what the whole pandemic was about. I was there several times. I visited our friend Madhusudan, who passed away from COVID, and he was lying there, and he said, I thought I could beat this thing, but I don't think I can, And his breathing was very heavy. It was painful to watch. It's a horrific, disease. So this comes up in the 5th chapter also, that the realized soul, he realizes that all these things are happening by the modes of nature, and I'm not doing anything. I'm just residing in the body. And so that's not controlled by the spell of the modes of nature. You realize, oh, okay, here's something that's trying to attract me to act in the mode of passion, some billboard or something, No, I recognize that for what it is. I'm Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare. I'm Krishna's servant. I'm not going to be attracted. And after just 2 minutes, 1 or 5 seconds, it's not attractive anymore. It doesn't reach into your heart and implant this desire seed. So this just reminds me of a verse. Because we have to serve. This is the whole thing. This is our nature. We don't see ourselves as servants. I'm an independent actor. I'm good. No, but we're serving the impulses of the mind, and the impulses of the body is dealing with so many different things. So how to transform that service attitude into a service for Krishna? So this verse is like that. He says, Kama dinang katina katita palita durnideshas tesham jata mayna kadunanat tapano prashantihi Uttrijayta nati yotapate sampratam labdha buddhis tvamayata kshadanamabayam mamlayug svatmadasi. In how many ways have I sought to obey the seductive demands of my wicked desires? They've shown me no mercy. Yet on I've gone shamelessly trying to quench lust's unquenchable fires. But now I'm rejecting these hellish desires, for my higher intelligence now has awoken. O Krishna, O shelter of fearlessness, please let me serve you with faith that will never be broken. We have to serve. Either we're going to be serving the kama, lust, anger, greed, illusion, madness, all these different impulses under the modes of nature, or we're going to be serving Krishna. If we serve Krishna, then he says to the material energy, okay, lessen your grip on them and we leave. That's what that verse is about. Daibiyesha Gunamahi, 7:14. That properly refers to it here. We learned before in the 7th chapter that these modes of nature are like ropes binding us to the material world with different desires, different qualities. And we can't escape on our own. The only escape is those who surrender unto me can easily cross beyond it, because that Maya is under Krishna's order. She's his servant. She's like a police lady, or something. She's a prison guard. She has a thankless task of binding us here. But she's a servant of the governor, the ultimate governor is Krishna. Says, okay, let this one go. And then the attractions are less, and whatever suffering is there is also less, because your mind is beyond the body. You're thinking of Krishna, and you're serving Krishna's desires, not your lower desires as dictated by the modes of nature. That's the science of bhakti, and it's been shown to work. And the main agent of that surrendering is chanting Hare Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. What is this Krishna? There's a verse that's analyzing the actual sound, Krishna. How to say? Oh God. It's leaving me now, but it says the syllable Krish is this, means all attractive, and the na is bliss. They say Krishna means that Krishna is attracting you and bestowing upon you all bliss. And the word Rama is spoken by Lord Shiva. He's speaking to his wife, Parvati. Rama Rameti Rameti Rame Rame Manorama Nama Sahasrabir Nama Rama Nama Varanine. I'm sorry, you know that. So I'm chanting Rama Rama Rama, and I'm enjoying like anything. He's saying I'm enjoying Manorame Manorame. He's saying this one name of Rama is equivalent to 1,000 names of Vishnu, and 3 names of Rama are equivalent to Krishna. The name Krishna, very powerful. So. And then there's this more famous verse, Ramante yogino nante satyanande charatmani iti rama padenaso param brahmamadiyate. The yogis enjoy without ceasing. Ramante yogino anante, their enjoyment is because it's spiritual happiness. Satyananda charatmani, this is real bliss, chidananda, the spiritual bliss. And therefore, the name Rama indicates the Supreme Brahman. Iti Rama Param Brahma Bijinite. This is Param Brahma, the Supreme Brahman that we're searching for. So it's there for the taking. We're not selling it. You can have as much as you want. Chant it all day. It's free. The most valuable thing in the world is given away. It's a fact. It's because it's not of this world. Okay, we have to adjourn, and we can chant for the deities and beautiful darshan. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. And we'll reconvene on Monday, same time.